Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is May 19th, 2013. So I just celebrated 12 years. I have a sponsor. I sponsor other women. I'm available to sponsor. I have a home group. It's TGIS. It's also a women's meeting in Seminole. Friday night at 7 p.m. It's going on right now. And I've worked the 12 steps. I have a bunch of service commitments. And those are some of the things that help me stay sober. Nervous. Okay. It's good to be back here. This was my home group for a few years. And then I moved a little too far away to drive every Friday. I know some people do drive that far, but yeah, I don't. So, anyway. Okay, super nervous. So one thing I do want to say is thank you to whoever in this group is doing the YouTube channel, because I've been listening to your speakers from here, and it's really cool because I hear all the familiar laughs. So I'm like, oh, I know that laugh, and it's really nice. So I do those in the when I'm driving. So when wow, I'm really nervous. Probably, but so Kathleen pretty much told my story. I didn't realize how much until she was, telling it. Before I started drinking, I was extremely anxious and depressed and had social anxiety, still do. And I just didn't like life. I had a beautiful family who really loved me, and I had no reason to feel the way I felt, but I just hated life. And I was uncomfortable, and I couldn't make friends, and I had bifocals and an eye patch and a Jufro, and I was made fun of, and it really sucked. And I just didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. And I feel like that's something so common that people say in AA, that was one of the first things I really related to, is the feelings. So if you're new here, my experience might be different than your experience, but I was told to, relate to the feelings, the thoughts, the way I drink, the progression of my drinking. And because I could look around and be like, I don't have any DUIs, I'm not that bad, I'm not, that old, and I could just compare myself right out. And that's kind of what I did in the beginning. So then I took a drink at age 11, and things got really, I thought they got really awesome because I no longer cared what anyone else thought of me. I no longer was socially awkward, and alcohol became my social lubricant. It made me able to talk to people. I was funny. It was great. And so my story starts with alcohol and ends with alcohol, but there are some drugs in the middle. I'm sorry for that, but there just are. I won't go into it too much. But so I started drinking, and then I quickly started doing other things as well. And by the time I was 15, I was drinking and doing drugs, and the first person in my life noticed that I didn't drink like other people. It was my first real boyfriend at the time, and he kind of called me out and said, why do you drink so much? Why do bad things happen when you drink? Why do you take it so far? Why can't you just have fun like the rest of us? Just really noticing that I wasn't a normal drinker. And he gave me an ultimatum. And he said, if you don't stop drinking and doing drugs, I'm going to leave you. And, it was my first real boyfriend, first love. I had zero self-esteem. He was literally my life. I guess not literally. I hate when people do that. But whatever. He was important. And so I said, okay. And our big book talks about the hard drinker. If given sufficient reason, they can stop or moderate for falling in love, warning of a doctor. And so this was my sufficient reason. So at that time, I guess I was like a moderate drinker or a hard drinker because I was able to stop for a time. And so just like Kathleen said, for the next 3 years of this relationship, alcohol was my solution, and I didn't have it anymore. And I went nuts. I was with this guy. We were both super, super sick. He, just like her, he drank a lot. I was like super dry and crazy. And we had a horrible relationship. And we were just both very, very sick people who did not have a clue. And yeah, so I did a bunch of things. I did everything I could think of to change the way I feel without drinking or drugs. So I did a lot of outside things, picked up a lot of, new mental stuff. I became anorexic. I started cutting. I started hitting my parents. And that last one was one of the biggest shame that I carried around. These people loved me and treated me wonderfully, and I literally beat them up. I just thought I was this absolutely horrible person. I cried every day. I was insane. So then, when I finally got out of this relationship, finally got free of him, I looked around and I was like, I'm 19, I'm in a sorority, let's go, So I had not had a drink for 3 years, and within 6 months of drinking again, I became a daily drinker. This is where you can see the progression in my story. Immediately I got consequences. I was pre-med in the honors college with a whole bunch of scholarships. I had, my life set up for success. And within a few semesters, I lost it all because of drinking, because I just couldn't not drink. I just couldn't get up for class. I couldn't do it. And so that started immediately. And there's a line in the book, liquor ceased to be a luxury. It became a necessity. And it was a necessity. It was more important than absolutely anything. I eventually got kicked out of that sorority. I lost all my most of my scholarships, got kicked out of the honors college, had to change to an easier major. And I picked psychology and ended up taking a bunch of classes in addiction and stuff to try to fix myself. Didn't work. Self-knowledge availed me nothing. And still nervous. So, it's not going away. So essentially what happened is I went from boyfriend to boyfriend because I was convinced that marriage would fix me. That's what's wrong with me. I'm single. I need to be married. So I would go from boyfriend to boyfriend, and whatever drug or drink they were, using, that's what I would do. And I eventually got with this guy who was using hard drugs, so I did that too. And that's when things accelerated really fast. I lasted about 6 months using this one drug, and I had pawned everything in my apartment. I was doing bad things on the internet, and I was just absolutely selling my soul. I had to drop out of college totally, and, take for the semester, whatever. I took a medical semester off. And, so things got really scary, and that's when that guy said, hey, we need help. So I went to the other fellowship, but the way we did that was we went together, we held hands, we sat in the back, we played on our phones, didn't listen to anything. I'm sure they said good things. I didn't hear a thing. No cursing. I didn't hear a thing. And, and I remember picking up a 60-day key tag when I was probably a few hours sober to make my parents happy. And I'm sure everyone in the room knew. I wasn't ready. I wasn't serious. Wasn't there yet. And then things progressed. The cops got involved. I've never officially been arrested as an adult, but there was lots of very close calls. I was told that I hit a cop. I don't remember. I was in a blackout. And then I had a flash of waking up in a cop car, but then another flash of being stitched up in the ER. And apparently, I had stuck a fork to my neck, threatened suicide, so they Baker-acted me instead of arresting me. So it was like stuff like that would happen. And then, and I just never once thought, okay, this is a sign. This is a wake-up call. Nope. I just rationalized it. I'm going to do better. I'm going to be more careful next time, whatever it is. Those neighbors should have called the cops, and I just, blamed it on other people. So then, things got worse. Gradually, things got worse. That's another one of my favorite lines, because they just do. If I'm drinking, if I'm in sobriety and not doing anything to work on my, spiritual recovery, things get worse. So
you're doing good.
Thanks. Oh, okay, that's happening. I'm getting a clap. All right, we're doing that. Okay, great. Lovely. So we thought we were actually going to die because things were getting very scary. And so he's like, okay, we should go to rehab, because I would not have come up with that idea on my own. I had done an outpatient, which I compared myself right out of. A lot of those women in the outpatient had their kids taken away, and I'm like, I haven't had my kids taken away. I didn't have kids. So, whatever. I wasn't ready. So I went to this rehab. And I think it was a really good rehab because they brought meetings in, and they brought us to meetings kind of like, is happening tonight. And I had my first introduction to AA. And just like Kathleen said, the people were smiley and happy and laughing, and I hadn't laughed in a long time. It was really, really attractive. And I was 20 at the time. They were my age. That just floored me, because alcoholics are old men in trench coats under a bridge drinking out of a paper bag. That was an alcoholic. But you know what? It's not. There was all these decent looking, they looked like they had their stuff together, and it was really, really cool. So they said, get a sponsor, work the steps, call 3 women a day. So I did get a sponsor, but the problem was I lied on the first step. At that point, I was 20. You couldn't tell me I was an alcoholic. I wasn't old enough to legally drink. And I believed truly that I was powerless over one drug only. And everything else, I thought, I just need to moderate better. But I didn't tell my sponsor that. So I worked the steps on the basis of a lie. And I got to step 8. I moved into a halfway house because that's what they said to do, so I did it. And I was 78 days sober. And I just kind of looked around, and I was like, I'm doing such a good job. I'm putting up with all these crazy women in the halfway house, because I just had this memory recently. I was in charge of cleaning the bathrooms, and they were all doing a colon cleanse. So it was the most disgusting thing ever. That's what I was putting up with. So I'm like, I deserve a drink. And that one thought tells me that I'm an alcoholic, because I was in a halfway house that breathalyzed every night, and you had to, not, blow zero to get to stay and live there. And my pre-med mind said, it's a good idea to take a drink. And so that I'm so grateful for that, because I have no doubt in my mind I'm an alcoholic. That was an absolutely insane thought. Step 2 talks about sanity, and that, that's the sanity. When I'm stone cold sober and I pick up a drink, that's insane. So what I did was, my old drug dealer had professed his love to me and said he wouldn't let me do that one drug again. And I'm like, that's a good idea. I'm going to go over to his house and take a drink. Just one. And so I go over there. I take one drink. And because I'm an alcoholic, the other symptom of my alcoholism is that once I take any drink whatsoever into my body, I got to have more. I lose control. Randomly sometimes I don't need to have more, but I don't get to pick when that is. That's the part that really got me. So this time I took, one drink into my body, and I needed more. I used to think I just changed my mind all the time, but no, I really did. And And I don't. It's that craving, that physical craving that happens that sets me apart from other people. And so I had that one drink, then I had a bunch more, and then I went late to the halfway house, and I blew the breathalyzer, and it blew not 0. And I tried to lie and say it was like cough medicine because I was sick. And they didn't believe it, and I got kicked out. And it was like, boom, consequence. I lost my place to live because of this idea that I could take one drink. And to me, that's just, it's so insane. So I never did that one drug in that one way again. And for the next 3 years, it was just me and alcohol. And I tried every single way I could think of to control and enjoy my drinking. So I went from vodka to wine, because wine is classier. But the way I drank the wine was, uncorking it and letting it sit out so it got flat and warm so I could chug it faster. And I would get the cheapest bottle that they got, that they had at Walmart. It was $2.77 a bottle, and then I remember being really, really upset when it went up to $2.97 a bottle. Yeah, that was my life. And how am I doing on time? Okay, great. I'm super sweaty. Okay. Sorry, TMI. Okay. Yeah. So that happened, and I just really, really thought, sobriety couldn't be the answer. It just couldn't be. Because I couldn't, at that point, imagine living without alcohol. So I'm like, I'm smart. I'm going to figure this out. And I would just try all these different ways. And I would try not having it in the house. I wouldn't buy it in bulk. I would just, pick it up when I needed it. And all these different things. And then, but, gradually it just got worse. And I always thought, I never had a morning drink. I wasn't a morning drinker. I'm not an alcoholic. But then I realized, I would take pills in the morning to stop the shaking. So I could drive. And and it was just, all this delusion. And so I guess getting to my last drink, the last 9 months of my drinking was really dark. I have a lot of mental health issues as well. And when you pour, alcohol on depression, it's just not good. I was really trying to work on myself. I was, doing lots of outside help, but drinking every day. And it just, wasn't working, and I couldn't understand why. So just to give you a picture of the last 9 months of my drinking, I had got this job that was an hour and a half away. It was crazy. So I would wake up in the morning saying, I'm not going to drink again. Today's the day. I'd be shaking and have to take a pills, to stop shaking so I could drive, so I could function. And a week ago, I learned that's actually DTs. I didn't know that. So I would, drive to work. And I'd be like, all right, today's the day. It's going to be a good day. First day of the rest of my life. I'm going to be a sober person now. And I'd get to about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'd start shaking. And my mind would start racing. I'd start freaking out, sweating. And I'd be like, well, I need a drink right now, but I'm going to stop drinking tomorrow. And then it would just get really, really bad. I'm like, okay, I can't wait till 5 o'clock. And most days I would tell my boss, I have to go out to, see clients in the field. And really I'd be going to the bar. So I did that a lot. And actually, eventually I had to add up all that time because I was on the clock and then pay it back as my amends. So, So I would, leave work, and then that drive to the bar was the worst thing in the world. My hands would be on the steering wheel. My whole body's shaking, feel like I'm having a heart attack. Think I'm not going to make it. I'm just going to die on the way. And then I'd pull into the bar and just have that breath out, like, I made it, it's gonna be okay. And then I'd go into the bar and have that drink, and everything would be okay. And then I would drive drunk home, usually stop at Walmart, get my wine, and pass out, and, drink till I passed out. And usually before, I passed out, I'd be like, if there is a God, because I was also atheist, if there is a God, don't let me wake up. And, and then I'd wake up in the morning and go, damn, I have to do this again. So that was every day. It really, really sucked. There was no more happy. There was no more fun. The bar I went to was these old men who, they were my buddies. They were barflies, and I wanted to be a barfly. I had accepted in life that that's what I was going to be. So, yeah. I finally found a guy that stayed with me long enough that I thought he would propose. It was 6 months. And we dressed up to we were Trekkies, so we dressed up for the premiere of Star Trek Into Darkness. And I thought this is where he was going to propose. He did not. So I got really upset. And the next day, I went to Chili's and had margaritas with a friend who I'm still friends with. So yeah, last drink was at Chili's. Actually, last drink started at Chili's. I don't know where it ended. And then went to a blackout, because I'm a blackout drinker, always, I just am. So I went to the blackout, and then I got drunk and essentially cheated on him, but text message broke up with him real quick, and then cheated, got with a guy. So it was technically not cheating. I did that a lot. So that was boyfriend number 5. I had done that 2 in a row, and I just woke up in the morning, and I was just I'm the worst person in the world. I hate myself. I hate my life. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to hurt people anymore. And I'm hurting a lot of people because I hurt a lot of people. There's actually this amends that I need to bring up with my sponsor that kind of just went whoop, in my head. And super random tangent, but gotta go there. I was driving in the middle of the day and I blacked out while going through an intersection. And I crashed into a guy in a cherry picker, a bucket truck working on the whatever light, and my car went under that, and there was a dude in there, and he was fine. But I think I need to find him, make an amends. And also the cop, because I was unconscious, so they had to pull me out of the car, and I woke up looking up, on the pavement. There was a bunch of people standing around me, including a cop, and the cop goes, "Did you have a seizure?" And I go, "Yes." So I didn't get the DUI. So it's I probably need to find that cop. I probably need to find that dude. Yeah. So gonna work on that. But actually yesterday, fun fact, I finished my final financial amend. So I'm just yeah, that feels good. So that was a very cool feeling. So this might open up some more. So yeah, last drink, woke up, okay, this is done. I'd always been kind of suicidal, but this time I was all right, I'm out, I have a plan, let's go, we're done. Didn't tell anyone, didn't do anything, was just gonna do it. And then I had this thought that came into my mind, and it was what about that meeting 3 years ago? What about those happy young people? They were smiling and sober and happy and laughing. And I kind of made this deal with myself, and I said, I'm going to go to AA, get a sponsor, and do everything they say to do, because I've been around enough to know what to do. I just never done it all, thoroughly. And if it doesn't work, then I'll kill myself later. So that's why I came to AA this time, and I'm here to say, it worked, and I wouldn't be here if it didn't, because I was in so much pain. I couldn't have lived with that much pain any longer. And I went through my steps really fast, and I needed to, because I was dying. I was going to die. I'm one of those people who believe that this is 100% a deadly disease, and if I drink again, I'm gonna die. Whether it's from suicide, whether it's from later from cirrhosis, whether it's from a car accident, of my blackout driving. And there's so many options. But but I believe I believe it's so deadly, and I believe there's no reason I've never, I take meetings into the jail, and I've seen women in there, and I know another one personally, who've killed people and who are in there for DUI manslaughter, and there's no reason that's not me. There's just not, because I blacked out and I drove drunk all the time. And I've come to, like I said, in different situations, and with my car crashed between two trees and other stuff. So that's why I came to AA, and I went to this meeting, and I was super nervous. And I just, walked in, and, someone walked up to me who I'd remembered from 3 years earlier. She didn't remember me, but I remembered her. And it was that one right there. And she became my sponsor that night. And, she said, "This is your home group. You're the greeter." And I said, "I have social anxiety. I'm not the greeter." She said, "You're the greeter." So I was the greeter. And I did touch people back then. I don't know. But, I just, I had nothing better to do, because I had just stopped showing up to that job. And so I was like, nothing to do, went to a few meetings a day, and was just like, all right, let's do this. And I just went through the book, and, we read the book together, and when we got to a step, we did that step. First step, super easy. I feel like, people talk about relapsing. I feel like I relapsed every day for a long time. I got powerless through and through. I knew I had this obsession of the mind, and I couldn't stay sober by myself. I knew, our book says this phenomenon of craving never occurs in the average temperate drinker. And I had this phenomenon of craving a million times. So I was like, all right, fine, I'm an alcoholic. But step 2, I had a real big problem with, because I didn't believe in God. I just didn't. I just thought, there's horrible things that happen in the world. How the heck can there be something loving at all? This world is cruel. And, and I was just told, that's fine. You don't have to believe. You just have to be willing to believe. You just have to pray to nothing. So I prayed to nothing. In the morning, I said, if there's anything out there, please keep me sober. And at night, if there's anything out there, thanks for keeping me sober. And that was enough. And that's a gift I can give to people now. That's enough. That's okay. You don't have to believe. As long as you're willing to say the stupid words, that's fine. That's it. And I've heard another speaker say, that you will be contacted. I was contacted. All I have to do is seek. And so I was able to, and also G-O-D, God, was group of drunks. Because AA was this group of people who were smiling and happy and not drinking, and that was more powerful than me. So that helped too. And also, like Kathleen said, other people were like, pray to my God. Do you believe that I believe? Yeah, I guess, okay. So that's how I did there. And the same thing, that was step 3, turning my will and my life over to AA and my sponsor. Boom, done. Step 4 I really liked, because I don't know, I'm very self-pity, morose, and I got to write down everything icky about myself, and I don't know, talk about myself and my feelings and my my resentments, and so that was fine. It felt nasty, but I was fine doing it. And then she said, my sponsor said, get in the car. And we went to this thing called FICIPA, Florida Conference of Young People and Alcoholics Anonymous in Fort Myers. It was a big convention full of young, sober people. It was 1,000 of them, all hopped up on Red Bull. And and it was terrible. And I remember I was in the car between 2 boys, and I didn't want to talk to boys, and I didn't want to be there, and it was not cool. I was very unhappy. But I went, because at that point, the whole theme of my early sobriety was, it doesn't matter how I feel, it doesn't matter what I think, I just have to do it. Because I believed, you told me that if I did actions, I'm going to get results. And so I didn't believe in any of it, and I just did it. And, worked out. Did that. We got to that convention. I did my 5th step there in one of the hotel rooms. And, mostly it was okay. A lot of what I said, she said me too. And she said, or I know someone who's done that, or, stuff like that. Just made me feel, instead of this horrible, disgusting person, like just another flawed human being. Just another, sick alcoholic. And now I've heard so many 5th steps, and we're all the same. We all have the same character defects. We've all done mostly the same stuff. All the same fears, and it's like this beautiful, like we all think we're unique. I thought I was unique. A is not going to work for me because I have this and this and this. But like, we're all the same. Then I went back to my hotel room and did step 6 and 7, the meditation, becoming willing to have all those things removed. And at that point, like, they all looked horrible, so I was like, take them all. They do the steps are in order for a reason. Then I did, the step 7 prayer, asking God to remove all those awful things. And then I took a nap, because that was all really, really exhausting. So when I woke up from the nap, it was time to get ready for the big sober rave. And yes, it was a real rave. It was like 1,000 sober young people. And these are the people who used to party, but now they're sober, but they're still fun. So that's when I had my white light spiritual experience. I didn't see anything, wasn't, and actually, whatever, no white light. All it was a feeling. And the feeling was just that I was okay. And I had never felt okay sober. I had no shame. I didn't care what you thought of me. I didn't have all this weight and just all this fear and all this stuff I carried around. I didn't have this like gaping, nasty, festering wound inside me. It was just gone. I was just okay. And in that moment, I was like, holy crap. Oh, sorry, cursing. This worked. God is real. AA works. I don't have to kill myself. It was like this whole like boom. And I was just like this feeling of peace, and that like everyone in that convention was just like me, and I was just like one of many. I wasn't, usually I was over here, actually just like this. I was over here and all y'all were out there. But I just felt like just another alcoholic, and it was just the best feeling ever. So then I went to the big sober rave, and I crowd surfed, and it was very fun, and I danced sober, and the feeling was like pretty much like being high on sobriety. That's the feeling. That's the feeling. And I'm like, I want more of this feeling. And so there's a line in the book: we are restless, irritable, and discontent until we can again experience the sense of ease and comfort that comes at once by taking a few drinks. And that was my ease and comfort. It actually worked. I'm like, oh my God, AA is actually, a sufficient substitute. I don't have to drink again, because before I had to drink because I was in so much pain. And now I was like, oh my God, this is cool. I'm not hurting anyone, and I feel good. So it was great. And so I ended up going home from that conference and joining the bid committee for that conference and becoming the co-outreach chair, and, driving all over the state and going to like young people dances, outreaching Tampa, bid for Ficky Paw. And so then I did, step 8 and 9. And a lot of people love amends. I hate amends. I hate amends so much. I still hate amends. Good things come from them, but they suck. Yeah. So, my parents, that was easy. They were just like, oh my God, we're so glad you're sober. And a lot of people were like that as well. But But the most healing amends wasn't actually a direct amends. The most healing amends was this guy that I dated in high school and college, and I was just like the number one victim because it was an abusive relationship, and he abused me and ruined my life. And I really got, in the 4-step, I got to see my part in all that, and oh my God, I had a big part. And then also, I just wrote this letter to him, and it was this like long letter. It was like an amends letter. And then as I was writing this letter, I literally felt the hate like leave me. And then just got goosebumps. And then I read this letter to my sponsor, and it was just like, the hate was gone because I wanted this guy to die in a fire, and I wanted to watch. Like, I hated him, blamed him for everything that was wrong in my life. I still do have PTSD and have nightmares and all that, blah, blah, blah. But, I know my partner now. I don't have hate anymore. He was a sick person, and I got free by doing that. So yeah, that was cool. So then, let's see. Oh, good. We're 10 minutes. Okay. So I've been sober longer than I drank. And I've got to do a lot of growing in sobriety. And one of my biggest things that I need to communicate to you is you can stay sober through anything. Because I have stayed sober through really, really horrible, painful things. And really hard things. I had, I had this wonderful pink cloud of doing all the service. And, actually I didn't mention, I did all my steps in 30 days. That's not everyone's experience, but it's mine. And so I started sponsoring in 30 days. And the people who will have a sponsor with 30 days are very, very crazy. And I sponsored a lot of crazy women. It was great. So great. And I haven't stopped sponsoring because that's, again, one of the things that it's, number one, it's super beautiful, but it keeps me sober. And so, 2 years sober. I fell off my pink cloud and had this mental health crisis. And I learned another lesson, and that lesson was, yes, we need to seek outside help, but I need to do it in addition to AA, not instead of. And things got really, really hard. And that was the one time in my sobriety, I went down to 1 meeting a week, and that was so painful. And it was just so hard. I was like, what the heck is going on? But I was just told, my feet were trained. My feet were trained to go to meetings. My feet were trained to keep doing the service. And I got through it. And then I got to have, a big, beautiful, sober wedding, and then a big, not so beautiful, sober divorce. And the divorce was that's the most pain I've been in, drunk or sober. Because he left me, and I'm oh my God, playing the victim again. I got mad at God, and I was I thought I got this marriage for all the hard work I do in AA. And since I've been sober, I haven't cheated. I haven't hit anybody. I've been really good. And but the reality was when I got to because I'm sober, I got to do a big nasty 4-step on the divorce and really look at my part. And man, I had a lot of parts. I was not being a good partner. I was being critical and selfish, just always having my way, always. It must be my way. And that's just that's not a partner. And it just all these other, well, they're not that little, but littler character defects than physical violence or cheating. And I just, and I got to take all the, see that, okay, all these things are now objectionable. And then in step 7, ask God to remove them all. And he hasn't removed them all, but a whole lot. I'm not that awful partner I was then. I'm a whole lot better. And I think that's only because I'm in AA. Otherwise, I could have just like played the victim. Otherwise, I just could have used that to fuel my drinking. And instead, I got to improve myself. And that's kind of everything I go through sober. Like if I'm sober, I get to use it as an asset to help other people, and I get to grow through it. And then the biggest miracle that happened during that whole divorce time was I didn't think about drinking once. And for me, that was my solution to every single problem. That was my first thought, on opening my eyes. And it just I didn't want to drink once. And that's like only because of AA. And before this divorce was announced, I was like doing a ton of service, sponsoring women. I was already in the middle of the boat. So when it happened, I didn't have to run back. Like it was, everyone in AA just like went whoosh, like they just surrounded me. I remember Kathleen just sitting with me at a diner or something while I was crying and there was lots of crying. And again, that's when I knew my feet were just trained to just show up. I was intergroup treasurer at the time. I went to central office to do my financial statements, and I was crying while doing it. It was just just show up. And I lost faith in God during that time because I'm like, that's, how did this happen? And then on the other side of it, I got like a major upgrade. Like I'm so glad that guy left because I have a much better one now. It was like God removing something out of my life that I didn't believe in divorce. So if that wasn't removed for me, I never would have left. Like we were not right together. Yeah. So there's that. And then, what else I want to say? Oh, the whole God thing. Yes. So I was an atheist and now I'm not. And that journey has been just absolutely ridiculous because it started with this, praying to nothing. And then I knew there was something, but I couldn't tell what it was. It was like whatever the heck was keeping all these people sober and this thing that I'm experiencing. I just listened to a speaker who said, it shouldn't be God as we experience or understand him. It should be God as we experience him. And I have experienced God all the time. And I say God because it's easier to say, shorter to say, it's efficient. And yeah. So at this point in my sobriety, I have this God that is so big and that is just with me constantly. And I talk to God all day, every day. And sometimes formal, in the morning, I'll, still every single day say, God, please keep me sober. And at night, God, thank you for keeping me sober. I never stop praying. I think that's why I've survived a lot of stuff too. I never stop praying. I do the 3rd step and 7th step prayer. Sometimes I'll do part of On Awakening. Some in my head, sometimes not. I ebb and flow. I'm going to be honest here. It's an honest program. Oh Lord. Okay. So then sometimes I do some readings. Sometimes I don't. But it's just this constant dialogue. Just, if I have a resentful thought, please remove the resentment. Or please help me, see this person as a sick person and be loving and tolerant. And I'll just pull out all the little prayers. There's a bunch of little prayers in the big book. And yeah. So now I have this faith that's I don't know. There's nothing that could happen to me that I won't be okay through. I know God's got me. It might not be my plan, but it doesn't matter. God's got a plan for me. I get to be useful today. I was never useful. I was a taker. And this is, whatever. This is my life's purpose. It sounds weird and corny, but like this is what gives me purpose. This is, I think, why I'm here, why I survived. To sponsor other women, I'm a service person. So I take meetings into the jail. I take meetings into a detox. I'm not this district, but whatever, the other one. District 1, yes, that one. Pinellas County secretary. I'm an intergroup rep over there. I do all the things, and it's like, maybe some people don't have to do all those things, but I think I need to, because 1, commitment helps. 2, it's like that high on sobriety thing. I get this amazing good feeling. Why would you not want to do that? Because, I want more of a good thing. So, yeah, more service. More good. I know there was so many more things I wanted to say. Am I out of time? Yeah, I am. Okay. And I guess to the new person, what I really, really want to say is the best thing I ever did was just try it. Like it can't hurt you to just try it. Get a sponsor, do all the stupid things they say, because they will sound stupid, and see what happens. And if you don't like it, alcohol will still be there for you. We can't refund your misery at the door. They used to say that a lot. Okay, that's it. Thanks.